Tonight, former MP for Dom Mensah, Adwoa Safo, referred to the MPP's disciplinary committee following her explosive interview on Joy News.
It's a very bogus committee.
Why do you say so?
Why? And you know, a committee that is put together, and it's an intentional committee put together just to make sure that we find certain facts.
We'll bring you details of that explosive comment on Joy News, which has caused the party to refer her to the disciplinary committee. We'll also speak to the party for some responses and do more analysis on what this has in stock for the party. Here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel Connect and Energies and Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Tonight, the former member of parliament for Dom Mensah, Adwoa Safo, is hot again because the party has referred her to the disciplinary committee. This follows her explosive interview on Joy News this afternoon, following the party's instruction to all members to discontinue discussing the fortunes of the party on radio. The party had cautioned that members should refrain from commenting on what caused the party to fail in the 2024 elections. But Adwoa Safo went against that and spoke a lot about what is happening to the party. Now, she took on the committee itself that has been established by the party to look into why the party failed. She describes the committee as a bogus one. Listen to this.
It's not only my father. Pastors, we were arresting pastors that prayed for us to come into government. You expect him to tell his church following that go and vote for NPP again. So I'm telling you, we are the cause of our own loss.
Have you appeared before the Professor Michael Quay's committee? Because it is the committee is asking people why the MPP lost. You have stories to tell.
It's a very bogus committee.
Why do you say so?
Why? And you know, a committee that is put together, and it's an intentional committee put together just to make sure that we find certain facts and push a particular candidate away from the candidacy so that we can bring our own. You call that a credible committee, fact-finding committee. If Professor Michael Quay thinks he has integrity, thinks that he is credible, I want the first page of his fact-finding report. Why my son Michael Quay Jr. lost Domekwa Abenya's seat. He should give us a detailed report on that.
That is possible.
If he's able, no.
It is possible it could be captured.
No, if he's able to do it, and do it with the needed integrity, with the transparency, without biases and prejudices, I will take any report finding that he puts in there against Dr. Bawumia. Other than that, that report will not work in this party.
Is this not a premature conclusion, knowing very well that the report is not out? We don't even know the content.
The composition. He should, no, please, your backyard is burning. And you think the best person to lead a committee, a fact-finding committee like that constituency is included, will do a thorough job for you. So why don't you go out for an independent person? So
you want the entire committee changed, bring in new people to do this work? This is not the first time.
I'm telling him there are other credible members. That's why I'm saying, I'm just talking about him. I know there are other members. I'm not attacking anybody. I am attacking the chair of it. Hey, couldn't we have found anybody in the party to chair?
Because he's conflicted.
Exactly. Why do you do that? And we know what we know, and we've heard what we've heard. He shouldn't come and tell us that we should blame everything on Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia because Ghanaians don't want him, and that he won't fly again, and then we can't market him again, and so blah 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 blah. Uncle Trust and Yamani were reporting him.
You suspect that is what is coming up?
We are warning him. If he brings that report, nobody's going to work with that report. And that it means that we are not serious to rebuild, we are not serious to regroup, and we are not serious to recapture power.
The Ashanti report doesn't blame Bawumia for the party's defeat, at least from what we've...
And that is credible. Couldn't the same person have done that work for the party? Who has more parliamentary experience and electoral experience than Oseche Mensah?
But that is only Ashanti.
His name was there and they shut it down.
That is only Ashanti. The film may be
His
different
name
from the
came
other,
up, they shut it down.
The other 15 regions.
The name popped up, they shut it down. Why? Why? And now we want somebody whose hands are already soiled in a defeat. And now he's coming to determine whose defeat to what? To structure and present. That is a what? Do you know the number of votes that we bring on board from Dome Kwabena? His son should bow down his head in shame anywhere he is right now. We win over 30,000 margin. You present your son. Since I sat on the seat, my son can do it. My son can do it. They have never given me peace in that constituency. We hand over the mantle to your own son, and you were running the show with your son. And you bring this humiliating defeat to the party and you still think you have credibility to determine whether Bawumia should come again or not. No, we are bringing Bawumia back.
But if you think that, the candidate you presented in 2024 was not the choice of the people, and you obviously is the choice, then why don't you go back and take the seat for the MPP?
I have said it, Elton. I said the only person that can change my mind
is your father.
Take that seat again. And you know the dynamics of the constituency.
Right.
Christo Asafo, without Christo Asafo, you cannot win Dome Kwabena. The guy can go 100 times without me. And Dome Kwabena is Adwoa Safo and her father. And without me and my father, that seat will be forever for the NDC. And it is your son who sold it to them.
That was Sarah Adwoa Safo in that explosive interview with Elton Broby on the Pulse on Joy News Channel. Now, in that interview, she speaks also a lot about what is in stock for the party and the fact that no one can gag her from speaking up, on things that affect her, even though the party says no one should be speaking in the media. She goes contrary to that and really reviews a lot of things that has gone against her in that particular constituency. And what is up for her in future. She's been talking about her future in the party and what she intends to do, and the fact that really people have been on her all this while to try and kick her out. She delves more into what happened in Parliament to say that they accused her even wrongly, and the fact that she was not the one who voted against Professor Michael Kojo, but they thought it was her. She then revealed that she was the one who sat in the chamber during the E-Levy debate. Look, there's a lot of things that Sarah Adwoa Safo, poured on in that particular interview. But let me bring in the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, Haruna Mohammed, who's joining us on the phone. Haruna, I'm grateful to you for joining. Now, you brought a statement that barred members of your party from speaking in the public on the internal matters of the party. This is she going against it, and you are referring her to the disciplinary committee. But if you do that, is that democratic enough to gag your members not to speak, on issues affecting your party?
Thank you very much. I believe that there was earlier directive by the General Secretary of the party directing all MPP members to cease discussion on matters that create disaffection within the party in the media cycle. He made reference to Article 3.5 of the party's constitution, who talks about duties of a member. This article has two strands, that is A and B, and A has 1 up to 8, and 1 says that a member shall have the right and duty at all times 2, 1, promote and defend the good name of the party. The good name of the party is exactly what every member is ought to be doing. It is not in the mouth of every party member to speak ill of the party decisions. If you read up to 4, to abide by and publicly uphold the decision of the party. So the General Secretary, as the Chief Executive Officer of the party, issued the directive. And even in issuing the directive, he said that the New Patriotic Party acknowledges the disappointment and emotional distress caused by our defeat in the last elections.
Haruna, before you progress, this particular directive by the General Secretary, Sarah Adwoa Safo had a response to this. I want you to listen, then we can continue this conversation.
They shouldn't. This is a party that has fought for freedom of speech. This is a party that we've had a president that had come in and repealed the criminal libel law. We are in opposition. Well, how can you tell people not to speak? How can you restructure when you don't want people to speak? I am telling ourselves that if we want to be comedians and then do things and we laugh at our own acting, Ghanaians are ready to give us all the luxury to do that. But I don't think we want that. So let people pour out. Let people tell you why we did the things that we did. Let us see how we can, work it out with them. Those that have left. The love of the party, the love that people had for the party is no more. It's no more. How do we bring all of them back? How do we sit around the table again, put the right strategies, the right planning? And that's what we are going to do for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We are going to bring him back as the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party.
You think he's still the best person to lead the MPP?
He's the best person. We've marketed him before. We will market him again. And every person, I think, deserves a second chance.
The New Patriotic Party issued a statement. This is what they acknowledge the disappointment and emotions that the last elections caused. Many of us as party members have on several platforms expressed our anger, disappointment, and frustration. However, we humbly ask that all party faithfuls remain calm so that cooler heads may prevail at this time. And as an officer of the party mandated by the party constitution to coordinate the activities and programs of the party, please know that all party members are hereby directed to immediately cease discussing party issues that create unrest, negativism, and disaffection in the media and other related platforms. And this statement is signed by the party's General Secretary, Justin Kojo Frimpong. You say that this is only gagging you from speaking out and it will not help.
I am just reminding the party that this is a party that we fought for freedom of speech. We had our flag bearer, once flag bearer and once president, walk on the streets of Ghana, demonstrating the Ghanaians should be allowed to speak. And it's a constitutional right, freedom of speech. Who started speaking? Our General Secretary. Who started speaking after we lost the election? He was going everywhere, explaining. He went to the extent of telling people that nobody should blame him for the election, what we lost. He went on radio saying that His Excellency, the President Nana Akufo-Addo, wasn't listening to them at cabinet. That is what Kojo went on radio to say. And what? Now it's Adwoa Safo stand and what? You are issuing a statement. What locus does he have? You were on radio. And if he wants to write a letter, a love letter to me, he should write that love letter. This is so general. And I don't think it's a general statement I want to respond to. But you started the game. He should go on social media and see how the party people are bashing him. He has an election coming up. He shouldn't be allowed, he shouldn't allow himself to be manipulated and used for other people's cause. If you have an election coming up and your party base is bitter and they want a voice to speak for them, what I'm doing, I want to clarify something. I'm a lawyer. I've read that statement. I am not discussing party issues here. There has been a character assassination on me. I have been defamed by my own party. And I have a duty owed to myself to clarify, to set the record straight, to strip them off. That whatever they painted me, however they painted me, to bring me down, it's not what it was. It's not what it is.
Naturally, people with this kind of, anger in them will leave the party peacefully. You have no intention of leaving the party?
Nobody brought me in the party, and the party is not for anybody. We are all in there to build the party. So nobody can force me out. And you can't force me to keep my mouth shut. Other people speak. When other people speak, and it's not from something that is pushing for the Baumia agenda, that is okay. But when it's something that is for the Baumia agenda, everybody should keep quiet. We are not going to be suppressed.
And you will not resign from the party too?
We will not resign until we have Dr. Mahmoud Baumia as the president of this country. He deserves it. He's a humble person, he's an honest person, he has some good in him. That if Ghanaians are given the opportunity and we present him again and we market him again, he can take up the seat. What didn't Ghanaians say about the ex-president, our ex-president? Akufo-Addo can never be president. He's arrogant. He's that. He's that. The party, people like us, all of us stood with him, stood with the party and said, we'll bring him again. We'll bring him again. Now, with what we have done, that caused the loss of our elections. That cost us our elections. During Kufuor's time, it was better when we were saying it on our lips. That the 2007 election that we lost was a judgment on Kufuor's governance. And so President Kufuor should go and stay home. Because we are saying party, no? And President Kufuor quietly went and sat there. Never did anything. Why is it that now we are saying that our loss is a reflection of the governance and the things that we did? And the Nkofobi is a bitter pill for them to swallow.
So that's the words of former MP for Dom Kwabena Adwoa Safo. We're still on the line with Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Haruna, you've heard her, especially with regards to the directive that you issued. She says she's not discussing party issues, but discussing things that border on her. How do you respond?
You heard her spoke about a committee that was set up by the National Council. The National Council is the second highest decision-making body of the party. Professor Michael Quay is not the committee. He is the chair of the committee. We have other respectable members of the committee, and a National Council committee is being described on public platform as bogus. That is a party decision. And in Article 354, that we should abide by and publicly uphold the decisions of the party. Then you publicly say that the decision of the party is bogus. It is not right. And then you go
Haruna, she explained. She explained by saying that the man has an interest in, for example, Dom Kwabena because his son was the one who stood for the party, and he's the same person who has to go to Dom Kwabena, for example, to investigate why the party lost. Isn't she right to say that? Well, the man will be conflicted when it gets to say Dom Kwabena, for example.
You don't call the committee bogus because Michael Quay is not the committee. Michael Quay is only the chairman of the committee. Apart from Michael Quay, we have Professor Emeritus Yao Ntiamoa Bedi, Professor Kofi Osei Ekwaku, Professor Samuel Bet Kusi, Dr. Felicity Yamoa, Dr. Joseph Ajapon Damor, Mr. F.F. Anto, Mr. Koku Donfe, Honorable Gifty Kusi, Honorable Abdullah Banga, Seydou Nasibiri, Lawyer Seydou Nasibiri, and William Siamoa. These are members of the committee. Professor Michael Quay cannot be the committee. He's the chair of the committee. The committee has not even brought out any reports. They have not even started today. In fact, today they have met with the former President Kufuor. They have not even started writing reports. Not to talk of people conjecturing what will be in the report. This ought to stop and allow this to work. We are not asking anybody not to speak. We have given everybody the opportunity per the release on the 2nd of January, a decision of the National Council for a committee to meet in every constituency. Apart from that, there is an official email and designated party headquarters where they can submit written reports to this committee for it to be reviewed. So we have given everybody the opportunity. And that is why in the wisdom of General Secretary's release, he indicated that many of us as party members have on several platforms expressed our anger, disappointment, and frustration. However, we humbly ask, he humbly asked that all party faithfuls remain calm so that cooler heads may prevail at this time.
But if you take action against her for speaking, wouldn't that then connote a party that says it believes in democracy, but really then in practice does the opposite? Because one of the tenets of democracy is to free speech.
Nobody has said you should not speak. The party has rules. And we have called on everybody, if you have an immediate action or something to say relative to this action, must direct that to a specific committee. People have spoken. People have been speaking. The party was watching, listening, and the party decided to issue a statement to direct the conversation. So at this stage, we needed to see what we say in public and make sure that we are guided by the rules of the game. And the General Secretary quoted the specific provision as duty of members of the New Patriotic Party to promote and defend the good name of the party, to protect the unity of the party, to be loyal and truthful to the party, to abide by and publicly uphold the decision of the party, carry out his or her duties faithfully with honesty to the best of his or her ability, and participate fully in the activities of the party, and ensure that the local organs of the party work effectively and accountably. So these are the guiding principles of every member.
Okay. Aside the fact that you feel that if she speaks, it then aggravates the situation that you have. But when you listen to her, is she not putting out factual happenings that border on her and the party?
It is not for me to look at the issues that she has said. I have pointed to you areas that are very detrimental and affect the image of the party. It is not right to question the decision of the second highest decision-making body of the party and to call it bogus. It is not right.
Okay, so you
cannot question the constitutional powers given to the General Secretary and say he doesn't have the locus. What is the locus here? Article 10, 7, 5 is clear. And the General Secretary is the chief executive of the party. And you cannot say he doesn't have the locus. He was not appointed just as I am appointed. He went through elections and won. And he did not win the election by ballot. I believe that let's make sure that we respect party decisions, we uphold party decisions, and we go back to rethink and make sure that we direct our energy in rebuilding this party going forward.
When is the disciplinary committee expected to sit on this particular matter? You are inviting her to the disciplinary committee, right?
There are disciplinary measures and outlines that is stated in the party's constitution.
Okay.
This has just been done. The chairman of the disciplinary committee is a former road minister. His attention will be drawn to that, and the members of the disciplinary committee will take it from there. And I believe that they are going to use the constitutional applications to deal with the matter.
So you've referred it to the disciplinary committee.
That is why you have seen the release from the General Secretary.
But we don't know when they are going to sit on this particular matter yet.
It has just been done. The disciplinary committee will also decide because the committee has a chairperson and other members of the committee.
Okay, but if you listen to Adwoa Safo quite well, now she is pointing to the fact that the General Secretary himself is making public comment about the party's defeat, and she says he is trying to absorb himself of the defeat. So it wasn't about the powers of the General Secretary really, but about the fact that he has also gone on radio to speak about the party's defeat. So she doesn't see what is different from what she's doing.
These are two different issues. The General Secretary is the CEO of the party. And the General Secretary, after the party's defeat, needed to bring party members up to speed. He was not only doing media engagement, but the General Secretary was visiting some notable constituencies and other bodies within the party. And the General Secretary sought to do some kind of explanation and to bring the party people up to speed. He did not go to attack the decision of the party or to insult the New Patriotic Party. If you listen to the interviews of the General Secretary, it cannot be equated to what is being discussed on our platforms now, that we are asking that we should all be restrained and make sure that we situate ourselves in a place where we'll be able to rebuild and then recapture power in 2028.
And per your constitution, does she risk being expelled from the NPP?
I cannot determine that, because she has been referred to a committee, and a committee will make recommendations to the party at the appropriate time, as stipulated in the disciplinary procedure and functions of the disciplinary committee. They have to investigate the complaint concerning the misconduct, to make full and impartial inquiry into any complaint, to report in writing the results of the inquiry and the reasons leading to the conclusions reached, and make recommendation to the executive committee based on the results of the inquiry. So in this particular instance, a directive has been issued. She went against the directive and went ahead to question the locus of the General Secretary, went ahead to call a National Council Committee as bogus, and some of these particular statements are not in good taste to be able to portray the party in a good sense. So I think that we need sanity within the system, and that is why the General Secretary has graciously referred to the disciplinary committee. There are other members that we have referred to the National Council of Elders of our party, very quietly, after we had our national executive committee meeting in the last week. So I think that the party is working on several other things, and I believe that Adwoa Safo will definitely attend to the committee. She's a party member. We respect her for being a former member of parliament, former minister, former deputy minister, former deputy of the party in parliament. So we know that we are a party that believes in democracy, and I think that this will be dispensed of by the appropriate committee.
All right. I'm grateful to you for joining us here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. But this particular subject will be explored more on Newsnight, which comes up next here on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace.
Auntie T, abeg, fix me go betete Ghana. No garri, no oil, no plantain, just beans then eggs.
Hey, brah, that be dangerous combination, no.
Problem no day. I fit handle am.
For Telecel, we the Bob say everybody gets what they like. That be why Made For Me bundles day. Based on your usage, you fit get your own data and call packages. Fala! Made For Me bundles like the way you the want them. That *530#, then buy Made For Me bundles today.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Brush your teeth every day and night. Up and down and all around. Brush the feeling bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between. Brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For 10 times stronger.
This advert is FDA approved.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears. Bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me, I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me die, now my God with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
On Newsnight tonight, explosive revelations by former MP for Dom Kwabenya, Adwoa Safo, reveals how powers in the MPP government targeted her and her father, waging a campaign to destroy their reputations and businesses.
You know, we wake up one morning and to our utmost surprise, Honorable Henry Quarter brought a team of guys with bulldozers, whether they were, how do they call them? These macho guys, Langards or whatever. He didn't even give us notice to even park our computers. They said there was an order from above.
She's been claiming in this explosive interview on Joy News that the party's committee set up to probe why the MPP suffered a humiliating defeat in last year's elections is part of a grand scheme to demonize former Vice President Bawumia.
So, a committee that is put together, and it's an intentional committee put together just to make sure that we find certain facts and push a particular candidate away from the candidacy so that we can bring our own. You call that a credible committee, fact-finding committee.
Also tonight, government defends recent national security raids against former Bank of Ghana governor, describing the operation as part of measures to gather evidence to prosecute individuals who have stolen from the state.
Every search that you see is part of the government framework to fight the corruption, and we'll take responsibility for the search that are happening. And we want to make it clear that those searches and the mode in which they were done in accordance with law. Warrants were procured and warrants were used to conduct those searches.
Details as the minority in parliament accuses government of gross abuse of state power.
They forced their way, overpowered the security, and entered his premises. This Rambo-style approach must cease. Unfortunately for the governor, some 10,000 cedis on his bed could not be found.
In business, Finance Minister Dr. Adwoa reveals government's commitment to reduce the over-reliance on treasury bills, whilst promising more coordination between the Bank of Ghana and the Finance Ministry.
And in sports, we hear from Black Stars captain Jordan Ayew as he assures the Ghanaian public of the team's commitment to restoring national pride, starting with the World Cup qualifier against Chad tomorrow.
And that's in business and sports. Also later here on Newsnight, government claims to have damning evidence against political actors deeply entangled in illegal mining.
Nobody should come and tell me that you are a comrade. You are not. You are an enemy of the state. And I can't wait for the day when we will line up big party people, handcuffed, locked up, and tried.
I want to hear from you tonight here on Newsnight 05511119997, and we start tonight with a turmoil in the opposition New Patriotic Party, as it has tonight referred its former MP for Dom Kwabenya, Adwoa Safo, to its disciplinary committee on the day when she bared it all. She has been in this explosive interview, been revealing what she claims to be a conspiracy at the highest echelons of the party to demonize former Vice President Bawumia. She also reveals in this interview on the Pulse with my colleague Elton John Brobe that her father and herself were victims of a campaign waged at the very heights of the government under Akufo-Addo to destroy their reputations and businesses.
Was my father's lawyer in the 80s and in the 90s. So he has a close relationship with my father, Apostle Dr. Kojo Safo. He has a lot of businesses. One is our transport company, Imperial Express.
Right.
It was thriving. It was doing very well. Concentrating in the northern regions, Togo, Benin, everywhere. You know, we wake up one morning and to our utmost surprise, Honorable Henry Quarter brought a team of guys with bulldozers, whether they were, how do they call them? These macho guys, Langards or whatever. He didn't even give us notice to even park our computers. They pulled everything down one day.
And the reason being what? That you were occupying and land that didn't belong to you?
The land didn't belong to us. The land was government land. The land was being leased to us and we were paying. It was a land for the Sports Council. So at the time, Honorable Neil Ante van der Poel was the one that the general manager then entered into that agreement with, and we were paying, and that is where we're operating from. And a lot of people do that. Most of the terminals that you see don't belong to the transport companies. We lease them.
Right.
And we were doing everything, not that we stopped paying the lease. They said there was an order from above that those lands were being recaptured for a government project. They pulled everything down without notice. Until date, there has not been any government project on that land. And how do you expect Christo Asafo members and my father to go and vote for the NPP? How? We have blood running in our veins. I have blood running in my veins. That is the company that took care of me. The man has sacrificed his daughter to you and brings the largest votes and the largest constituency to your political party. Is that a way to pay him back? If you don't help him expand, if you don't help him with his automobile, you go and pull down a transport company that will use these buses to bus electorates to go and vote in the past.
Did you complain this to the president? And what was the response?
No response.
But did you complain?
You did. Elton. Complain when they want to take it. When you complain, who are you complaining to? Honorable Henry Quarter, after that, I called and called and called him. He never picked my call. He never picked my call after telling me it was an order from above and they were going to use it for, I don't want to mention the person's name because I've been advised. And they have walled it from then.
Up until now.
It is still there. Nothing has been done on it. And I'm daring them. Now NDC is in power. Go and do the project you want to do over there.
She had further revelations, also alleging that the party's committee set up to probe why the MPP suffered that humiliating defeat in the last elections is part of a grand scheme to demonize former Vice President Dr. Bawumia.
Elton, every person in this world deserves a second chance. Why do you bring a ticket once when you have precedents, you have a history? That tells us that the first time it doesn't work. Sometimes the second time it doesn't work. President Kufuor went how many times before he got the nod? His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he went how many times before? We went 2007, we lost. We went 2012, we lost. It was 2016, after the election petition, through my effort in Dome Kwabenya. Yes. Me, that they're telling me that I've been ungrateful to the party. Based on what we discovered in Dome Kwabenya, we went to the court. We had electoral reforms, and that brought the party to power 3 times. Professor Mills, how many times did the late Professor Mills, may he still rest in perfect peace, how many times did he run? Our current president, John Mahama. President Mahama. He continued the leftover term of Professor Mills. He came, started his first term, he lost. He came again. Ghanaians rejected him. And he's come again. Where in the history of this country has a presidential candidate won the first time. So why are you telling Dr. Baumia that Ghanaians don't like him, and you're going to put that in a report and present it to us, and you think we'll accept it? No.
She reserved her most biting criticism for the committee itself and the chairman of that committee, former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, describing his committee as bogus.
When they want
we'll have details of that for you pretty shortly here on Newsnight and get you some reactions from members of the party on both sides of the aisle. Those who believe in the cause of Dr. Baumia and those obviously who believe she should be a subject of disciplinary hearings. She's actually tonight been referred already to party's disciplinary committee. She's been calling the bluff of the committee. Details of that pretty shortly.
When they want to take it, when you complain, who are you complaining to? Honorable Henry Cote, after that, I called and called and called him. He never picked my call. He never picked my call after telling me it was an order from above and they were going to use it for, I don't want to mention the person's name because I've been advised. And they have walled it from then.
Up until now.
It is still there. Nothing has been done on it. And I'm daring them. Now NDC is in power. Go and do the project you want to do over there. Whether you'll be given the opportunity to. Why destroy people's businesses? The business community is not only my father. Pastors, we were arresting pastors that prayed for us to come into government. It's not only my father. Pastors, we were arresting pastors that prayed for us to come into government. You expect him to tell his church following that go and vote for NPP again. So I'm telling you, we are the cause of our own loss.
Have you appeared before the Professor Michael Quay's committee? Because it is the committee is asking people why the MPP lost. You have stories to tell.
It's a very bogus committee.
Why do you say so?
Why? And you know, a committee that is put together, and it's an intentional committee put together, just to make sure that we find certain facts and push a particular candidate away from the candidacy so that we can bring our own. You call that a credible committee, fact-finding committee. If Professor Michael Quay thinks he has integrity, thinks that he is credible, I want the first page of his fact-finding report. Why my son Michael Quay Jr. lost Domiko Abenya's seat. He should give us a detailed report on that.
That is possible.
If it's able, no.
It is possible it could be captured.
No, if he's able to do it and do it with the needed integrity, with the transparency, without biases and prejudices, I will take any report finding that he puts in there against Dr. Baumia. Other than that, that report will not work in this party.
Is this not a premature conclusion, knowing very well that the report is not out? We don't even know the content.
The composition. He should, no, please, your backyard is burning. And you think the best person to lead a committee, a fact-finding committee like that constituency is included, will do a thorough job for you. So why don't you go out for an independent person?
So you want the entire committee changed, bring in new people to do this work? This is not the first time.
I'm telling him there are other credible members. That's why I'm saying, I'm just talking about him. I know there are other members. I'm not attacking anybody. I am attacking the chair of it. Hey, couldn't we have found anybody in the party to chair?
Because he's conflicted.
Exactly. Why do you do that? And we know what we know, and we've heard what we've heard. He shouldn't come and tell us that we should blame everything on Dr. Mahmoud Baumia because Ghanaians don't want him and that he won't fly again and then we can't market him again. And so blah, 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 blah. Uncle Trust and Yamani were reporting him.
You suspect that is what is coming up?
We are warning him.
And that there is Sarah Adwoa Safo. She is a former MP for Dom Kwabenya. I want to bring in Kofi Tonto, his aide to Dr. Baumia, joins us right now on the line. Thank you for your time here on Newsnight. We've just been listening to Sarah Adwoa Safo alleging that this committee has been set up, that is chaired by Professor Michael Quay, is part of this scheme to demonize the man you serve. Your reaction?
Very good evening to you, Iman. First and foremost, I think all Ghanaians including the Honorable Adwoa Safo, have a right to their opinion. However, that is not the opinion of His Excellency, former Vice President. The former Vice President believes very strongly that we should allow structure in the party to work. The party has constituted a committee to investigate issues. We will wait for the committee to bring their report, and then we can more or less review the report and see the pros and cons of the report. But as far as Adwoa expressing her views, I think she has a right as a Ghanaian, she has a right as a member of the party to express her views.
You say she has a right to express her views. The party holds a different view to that. In fact, as we speak tonight, they have referred her to the disciplinary committee of the MPP because they believe her conduct is dragging the name of your party to disrepute.
Yeah, Evans, I mean, you have a right to express your view. I have a right to express my view. But those rights are framed within a constitutional document. The party also has a document. Therefore, if the party feels her right infringes on the constitutional regime or mandate of the party also has a right to call Adwoa to order and say that, look, what you are saying, which is your constitutional right, the national constitutional right, infringes on aspects of our party. And the party, is the party of laws and rules. I think it's also within the party's right to engage Adwoa and tell her, look, these views are not what we want to put out right now. And I think that's also fine. I don't see why the party cannot also tell Adwoa to hold her horses for now and then engage within the party. I've seen the statement from the General Secretary asking all party members to refrain from going on radio and on TV and discussing issues relating to the party on air. I think that the party also has a right to do that. But nobody can gag any single individual from speaking. If Adwoa continues to do that, the party has remedies on how to address such content.
This committee, she's been critical of, and that the committee's real intentions is to put out a report that would discredit Dr. Bawumia. You trust that committee?
Well, first of all, the party has instituted a committee. We trust the judgment of the party. But when the party meets to take such a decision, leaders of the party are present. So how can we be part of a decision to constitute a committee and then come out and say otherwise? Trusting a committee does not necessarily mean you will agree with everything in the committee's report. Let's distinguish the two. Evans, you're a credible journalist. Doesn't mean I would disagree or agree with everything you say. I may agree with aspects of your comments. I may disagree with aspects of your comments. It doesn't take away from your credibility. You get what I mean? So we should allow the committee to work. We have no intention to call the credibility of the committee into question. What we will do is that once the report comes, we'll take a very honest and objective look at the report. And if we have concerns, we will definitely lay bare what the concerns are.
Thank you very much. And that is Kofi Tando, is aide to Dr. Bawumia. And as we speak tonight, the party has referred Sarah Adwoa Safo to its disciplinary committee, and that hearing should be beginning immediately from what we understand. Sarah Adwoa Safo has already been speaking about the party's decision to direct all members not to go public and wash its dirty linen in the public. In fact, she told my colleague, Elting Brobe, that as far as she's concerned, the party cannot gag her and she will not be gagged. in commenting on the matters that she deems to be important. The party says, nonetheless, that they will proceed with what they had planned to do to ensure that she is brought in line. This is setting up to be a proper standoff. However, one of the individuals she's been accusing in this exclusive interview of being part of this conspiracy and being the reason why the loss in Dom Kwabenya is the Michael Quay Jr. Michael Quay Jr. himself, we understand, has a statement out responding to a few of the accusations against him. My colleague Papani Ashali joins me in the studio with that. What has he been saying?
Well, he starts off and says that I have been informed of a few false statements made in relation to me that I wish to debunk. Point one, I have and will never insult anyone's father. My paternal grandfather is a farmer, and I myself a part-time farmer. I will never do that. That is not how I was brought up, and those who know me know I eschew insults. He goes on to say that I am a very private and respectful person. I will never snub the then president, chief of staff, or any elderly person who calls me to see them. That is the trait of disrespect, and I am not like that. I have historically shown that for me, it is always party first. He goes on to add that I tried on 3 occasions to reach out to my opponent after I won the primaries. Madam Sheila responded, and we chat till today. I was rebuffed by the other person, and his special assistant told me
And
after 3 weeks. Yeah, he didn't mention.
Sounds like he's talking about Sarah Joseph.
Well, Evans, we know the people that contested in that particular contest. So he's mentioned one, decided not to mention the other, and goes on to say that after 3 weeks of trying, the assistant told him that they did not want to speak to him. How then will I have been welcome to attend her church? Just walk in? Well, for now, I leave the rest of the matters to God, for he will fight for me. That's how he ends this particular statement, Evans.
Papa, thank you very much. Well, Sarah Adwoa Safo herself, she's been responding to the party's directive for her and others to stop speaking the way they have been watching parties settling in public. Listen to her.
This is a party that we fought for freedom of speech. We had our flag bearer, once flag bearer and once president, walk on the streets of Ghana, demonstrating the Ghanaians should be allowed to speak. And it's a constitutional right, freedom of speech. Who started speaking? Our General Secretary. Who started speaking after we lost the election? He was going everywhere, explaining. He went to the extent of telling people that nobody should blame him for the election, what we lost. He went on radio saying that His Excellency, the President Nana Akufo-Addo, wasn't listening to them at cabinet. That is what Kojo went on radio to say. And what? Now it's Adwoa Safo stand and what? You are issuing a statement. What locus does he have? You were on radio. And if he wants to write a letter, a love letter to me, he should write that love letter. This is so general. And I don't think it's a general statement I want to respond to. But you started the game. He should go on social media and see how the party people are bashing him. He has an election coming up. He shouldn't allow himself to be manipulated and used for other people's cause. If you have an election coming up and your party base is bitter and they want a voice to speak for them, what I'm doing, I want to clarify something. I'm a lawyer. I've read that statement. I am not discussing party issues here. There has been a character assassination on me. I have been defamed by my own party. And I have a duty owed to myself to clarify, to set the record straight.
And that is former MP for Dom Kwabenya, Sarah Adwoa Safo. I want to hear from you on this 055-11-11997. You're still live. Your news night is on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, tonight, government is defending the latest raid on the home of former governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, on Wednesday. Operatives of the national security, according to the minority in parliament, the national security operatives brazenly stormed the residence of the former Bank of Ghana governor and ransacked the property. But government has issued a swift response saying the action is part of measures to gather necessary evidence to prosecute people who've stolen from the state. Listen to Dr. Justice Stremsrai, who is the Deputy Attorney General. We'll hear from him shortly, and he explains that it is part of the oral report that he had put together, part of the reason why they secured a warrant for the search.
Concerns are on two sides. There are a group of people who believe that the AG is actually being slow, and there's another group of people who are of the view that the AG is being aggressive. Last night there were some searches conducted in some homes, and the views are divided. But I would like to assure the public that we are, as much as we can, pursuing persons who are believed or are suspected to have looted, state assets, being money or other properties. We are committed, and work is going on day and night for that to be done. Most importantly, we are also doing so within the framework of rule of law, because as you may know, there have been instances in the past where persons who are suspected have been arrested in manners that don't comply with the rule of law, where violation of human rights and other laws have been broken just because people are suspected. We've also witnessed instances where people have been put on trial for years without any evidence and without any conviction, without any trial, and they wake up, go to court, and they are just spending money on lawyers. We are determined, and when I say we, I mean my boss, the Attorney General. He is of the view, his policy is that he will not put anyone before any court without having sufficient evidence to prosecute a person. So the reason for the delay we are seeing, or what most of the public are seeing as delay, is that we are making sure that we get the evidence before we put someone in court. We will not be in the business of putting people before the court and now seeking permission to go and now look for the evidence. At least we must have what we call sufficient evidence to be able to put people before criminal court.
Council, so you're saying the searches, including the former BOG governor, was sanctioned by your office?
So the offices, there are so many. So if you look at how government works, we work with other institutions, and people submit complaints. So, but every search that you see, is part of the government framework to fight the corruption, and we'll take responsibility for the search that are happening, and we want to make it clear that those searches and the mode in which they were done in accordance with law. Warrants were procured, and warrants were used to conduct those searches.
Well, it says government will soon act on the oral committee report.
Corruption has been one of the biggest challenges that we have faced as a country. The previous election, I think, was mainly on corruption, and you agree that most Ghanaians decided to vote for the NDC government because of the oral promise. Every day I see people on social media and other media platforms really asking when is the oral going to start, and I understand them to be saying that when are we going to start prosecuting or arresting persons who are suspected of stealing public money or of corruption. I will take this opportunity to assure the public that President John Mahama's government is committed, sternly to fighting corruption and to bringing people to book, and most importantly to recovering the loots that we have all been seeing. Now, what we are doing at the Attorney General's Department is to do what we call building the dockets for these prosecutions. So, in as much as we know the public are in a hurry to see what they call action, we believe that it must be done within the framework of rule of law. We must respect the rights of persons that we even know are doing corruption, let alone those that we suspect. And we believe that this will not happen overnight. We are engaged in serious investigation. At the Attorney General Department, we have hardworking, citizens, all the investigative bodies, the police service, the BNI. They're all working so hard day and night to help us build a very powerful docket of very, very important, very powerful dockets to be able to bring persons that we believe or suspect to be stealing or who have looted this country to book. So bear with us, and maybe a little more patience. In a few weeks' time, you would see that the oral is not just a campaign slogan, but something that we are determined, that President John Mahama is determined to make sure happens.
Well, today, the minority in Parliament, they've been addressing a news conference on this particular raid and others. Listen to the minority leader, Alexander Fenyo Marking, condemn the raid.
The minority caucus is here to express its concerns about the growing lawless conduct of our national security operatives who the government has unleashed on opponents, particularly the MPP appointees of former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We've heard of some raids, and in some cases, these so-called security operatives rob these officials when they are leaving their premises. They force their way, overpower the security, and enter these premises. This Rambo-style approach must cease. This is the first time in the history of our country that a governor of a central bank is being subjected to such a treatment. Unfortunately for the governor, some 10,000 cedis on his bed could not be found. So some of these hungry party foot soldiers that they use, who parade themselves as national security operatives, are after all perhaps not even being paid, and they use this opportunity to steal. The governor's wife's earrings and necklaces were also not traced. They couldn't be found. In other words, those operatives stole these earrings and necklaces.
Let me take you to Parliament and speak to Kweku Asante, my parliamentary correspondent there. Kweku, the caucus, they have a set of demands on the back of the condemnation. What are these?
Well, Evans, that is mainly to the President John Dramani Mahama. They say that John Dramani Mahama must show leadership, he must stamp his authority and end this lawlessness. They have a clear message to the government that if these messages that they are sending are calculated to intimidate them, it won't work, and they want John Dramani Mahama to put his feet forward and end these, what they call lawlessness right now.
This vicious cycle of using power to intimidate must cease. I conclude by calling on President John Dramani Mahama. We know him as a moderate politician, respected politician. He served his country, had a first term, lost elections. The Ghanaian people have given him another mandate to do his final term, which is a constitutional power mandate given him. He should leave a legacy. Your Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, please leave a legacy. Let it be said that even if there were excesses in the exercise of executive power, when you had the opportunity, you change it for good and own that legacy in your name, Your Excellency. We're tired of the intimidation, the attacks, and the hypocrisy. We were told that Jakpe's first attack on Kenoforiata was not authorized. Today, the same Jakpa leading armed police, armed military, and so-called party tax who parade on the streets of Accra as security operatives, terrorizing and traumatizing a respected Ghanaian citizen who has dedicated the better part of his life to serve his country.
Let me bring in Martin Kwebu. He's a lawyer, but also a member of that oral committee. And as we've just heard there from the Deputy Attorney General, the search warrant was executed pursuant to the oral committee report and the recommendations they had made in there. He joins us on the line right now. Mr. Kwebu, I'm grateful that you could join us. Now, listening to the Deputy Attorney General, this search warrant was executed pursuant to your report. Happy with the conduct of the operatives in executing the search warrant on the home of the former governor of the central bank?
Well, Evans, unfortunately, we've not seen a video of the search taking place. And so that immediately calls for law reforms that, the police service tried it some time ago, but they've not moved forward much with it, using body cams, so that there should be a way that this will be videotaped from beginning to end. Right now, as we speak, we've not seen it. And so you see, after your Markin's allegation that the officers stole 10,000 Ghana, it's something that's going to be difficult to investigate. You know, the police service once ordered body count, about 6 million worth, right? Was it $6 million? It was a contract like that, then there were issues. So maybe we should be returning to that. So, directly to your question, I cannot say I'm satisfied when I've not seen the whole video of the search. You say it.
The central bank governor, the former central bank governor, was he ever a subject of your investigations?
But giving subject of complaints received, that question, we've not been given clearance. So it looks like if I start going into details, it will look like I've gone ahead of myself. I'll follow up to see whether the clearance is ready now. And I'm sure that full report, we will go into it. I'm sure along the line.
But it wasn't strange to you that his home will be searched. I mean, in fact, before you join us, the Deputy Attorney General actually disclosed that this search warrant was pursuant to your committee's report. That presupposes that you may have made some findings or recommendations in there that bordered on him or the institution he represented.
Evans, once again, when I heard that side, I thought he said they're doing all this is pursuant to the oral agenda of the JM administration.
But you represented the oral agenda. As in, you put
Yes,
that whole
that's a
document
part.
together.
Yes, a part of it. Yes, that's the receiving complaints and then gathering information that was in the public domain. Yes. So, but it's not the same as saying that it's the oral committee that specifically recommended that Addison should be investigated. As I said, for the report, you know, JM has that enviable track record. You remember the GIDA report? Ghanaians asked for it to be released, and he did. So I'm sure the media have to take it up. We ourselves, I would check. He definitely would ask for it to be released, because in any event, those were complaints, and then gathering evidence in the public domain. It doesn't incriminate people. So to say that, let's say, Mr. X was reported to the oral committee, no, it's just a report. It doesn't mean Mr. X is being investigated. It doesn't mean he's been convicted. So I'm sure even the GIDA report that went seriously against JM's administration, he gave permission for it to be released. And then fast forward, you remember how many years further when it came to the SML, he struggled, and I mean, before eventually releasing it.
The alleged misconduct of the security operatives who executed the search warrant, you back an investigation into the claims that monies were stolen and jewelries as well?
Absolutely. And I'll be working the lines. I placed a call to somebody, but I didn't receive a response. I'm going to call more people at National Security trying to understand what happened. Oliver is written on social media, Oliver Baka-Vomawo, that he supports an inquiry. I also do. We should get to the bottom of this, because we don't want, these things to start coming up so early. 10,000 Ghana, no, that would be a serious indictment. So the National Security will have to get to the bottom of it. But whilst at it, and maybe I don't know if I'm running ahead of myself, Evan, I was trying to do research. You see how the warrant is executed. When you look at the police, they have a big manual. It's called Service Instruction. And Service Instruction number 191 has a procedure for carrying out a search. But the National Security, I don't see that they have such a manual. So they should do one. And of course, the police one is already a bit old. So they should do comparative studies and then come up with one. Because, national security itself, original in the Constitution, it's not supposed to be into arrest, etc. But we are increasingly making it a police institution, in terms of direct law enforcement. But if you look at the Constitution, they are basically an intelligence agency that gathers information, they analyze, and then they give to police, IOCO, NIB to do the investigations. But now that increasingly we are asking them to come into direct investigations such as these, we need to also ask that they quickly begin to come up with manuals like the police service instructions, etc. so that we will know ahead of time how such a search will be done. Because the police one, when it's many rules, as I said, it's not top of the range. It's already looking a bit outdated. But at least if the police go to search somebody, I can open here and begin to check all the steps. But here we are with national security. There is no literature that I can take, the form of a law or even their own service instruction.
Martin, thank you very much. Martin Kbebuda is a paralegal practitioner. He's also a member of the oral committee that put together that work. That the Attorney General tells us tonight that it's in the search that was executed on the home of the central bank governor, the former central bank governor, was pursuant to that particular report. George Afe joins me right now with business. And George, I know you've been working your sources since last night, trying to understand what really happened in Dr. Addison's home when the operatives raided the place. What more have you learned?
Basically, we got the understanding that around 5 in the morning, these individuals, numbering a little more than 15, came there with some cars. They were asking the governor if he had a vault in the house and he should lead them to that vault. The governor actually explained to them that there isn't anything of that sort in the house. When they realized that there wasn't anything of that sort, they called drivers from the national security to actually come in and pick a number of cars to a certain location. And they drove 4 cars away, leaving 2 of them. And later in the evening, we understand that they called them to come and then pick their cars as well. But yes, they went around doing some search, and we've not been able to independently establish whether doing that search something was taken away or not even. Well, in business news tonight, the Finance Minister, Dr. Adwoa reveals government's commitment to reduce the over-reliance on treasury bills, whilst promising more coordination between the Bank of Ghana and the Finance Ministry. The more oil marketing firms review prices of petroleum products at the pumps as concerns grow about whether these recent reductions can be sustained. The business news on Newsnights is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your offers, essential synthesis tanks, and Pepsodent, Herbal, and Charcoal.
We are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Brush your teeth every day and night. Up and down and all around. Brush the feeling bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between. Brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For dental stronger teeth.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Adwoa has affirmed government's commitment to reduce the over-reliance on treasury bills. He also assured that there will be more coordination between the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance. Dr. Adwoa said this at the meeting with commercial banks managing directors in Accra today. There is more in the following Business Desk report. Speaking at the meeting, Finance Minister Dr. Atuforsen expressed government's commitment to fiscal discipline whilst restoring confidence in the financial sector. He added that government is committed to put in place necessary buffers to ensure that every payment due any bondholder under the domestic deduction program is paid. Dr. Atuforsen also went ahead to identify some areas in the 2025 budget that government has demonstrated its commitment to fiscal discipline. One can talk about goods and services and plans to achieve a primary surplus of 1.5% this year to help attain economic stability. He also announced that they have come very far when it comes to submitting the fiscal responsibility rule to Parliament that will put in place debt ceiling for the country. Dr. Atuforsen also revealed that government is taking deliberate steps to reduce the reliance on treasury bills. The finance minister also noted that there will be more coordination between fiscal and monetary going forward. The meeting brought together all the governors of the Bank of Ghana, as well as directors at the Ministry of Finance. And that's a Business Desk report. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Adwoa, has described the meeting as fruitful and necessary, looking at the current challenges facing the economy.
Anything that weathers the storm makes the market less uncertain, is a positive development. We want to be able to forecast, and if you know that you are hearing directly from the Minister of Finance telling you we are building a sinking fund, and we have made preparations available to pay off all debts that fall due in 2025 and beyond, it is very reassuring. And again, the fact that he's going to Parliament to amend portions of the Fiscal Responsibility Act to introduce debt ceiling, so that we don't find ourselves as a country in the corridor where we got to before we went into all these debt exchange and the IMF program. We need to introduce more fiscal discipline, and that is what the amendment is seeking to do on the fiscal responsibility amendment would seek to achieve. A debt ceiling is something that as a country we believe we really need.
John Adwoa is Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks. Now, more oil marketing firms are reviewing the prices of their products at the pumps. Now, the latest is Shell and Petrol. So, Shell is selling a litre of petrol at 15 Ghana cedis 30 pesos, while diesel is going for 15 Ghana cedis 47 pesos. That of Petrol is selling a litre of petrol at 15 Ghana cedis 29 pesos. Diesel is going for 15 Ghana cedis 45 pesos. But there are some who are concerned about whether this current trend over the past few years can be sustained going forward, looking at the fact that prices of crude oil started going up on the international market. Meanwhile, Minister for Energy and Green Transition has maintained that the cedi stability, or the cedi stabilizing firmly against the US dollar, might be one of the surest ways in keeping prices low at the pumps.
Currency is stable, certainly it will influence the prices. And the stability of the currency is a factor of economic management, both monetary and fiscal. But also how you even manage the competition. You bring about efficiency, you bring about predictability. If the exchange rate regime is managed in terms of how the central bank and government are able to guarantee forex, then arbitrariness is reduced. And that is also showing. So I think that it's a culmination of multiple factors. And if we can hold it that way, bearing any unforeseen circumstances, the prices should fairly be stable. In that case, the only variable that can be influencing the price will be the price of the commodity at the world market price.
Energy and Green Transition Minister John Jinapor, now a former Securities and Exchange Commission Director General, Dr. Adwoa Safo, is pushing for more education on investment to minimize misunderstanding between commercial banks and bondholders. Now, this was after some Euro bondholders kickstart the process to sue commercial banks over losses recorded as a result of the domestic deduction program. Dr. Safo maintained that this approach could go a long way to minimize the the challenges, whilst also pushing for more information disclosure to these bondholders.
Yeah, it is a major issue. Even where information has been provided, the Security Exchange Commission's job is to ensure that people are provided with that information. And when I was in office, I was thinking that even if you ask people to provide all the information, are the investors reading the document? And I keep on saying that the investors, what they want, all that they do is that if it's prospectus for the issue of some securities, they just send to the last page of the prospectus where the form is there and fill and sign and go and pay. So all the information that you have, the regulators have ensured that it is provided, the investor will not read it. In that case, you can't go and complain when there is something happening because it was in the document.
Former Securities and Exchange Commission Director General Dr. Edu Anani Enchi. And finally, the Bank of Ghana has denied issuing license to the MTN Ghana to undertake cross-border transactions with that of MTN Nigeria. Now, this follows report that MTN Ghana has been authorized to carry out these transactions, but the Bank of Ghana in a statement added that, as far as is concerned, Mobile Money Limited, providers of Momo for MTN, has not been licensed or authorized to conduct cross-border transactions. The central bank noted that in 2024, a pilot program began as part of its Sandbox program to aid these transactions, which is currently reviewing the process before it gives its final blessing to aid this movement of cash across the border. And that's all for business on Newsnight. It's time for the sports, and Ms. Bao here.
And Ms. Bao is here with the latest. We're all looking forward to that Black Stars game.
Yes, we're all looking forward to it.
Correct?
Tomorrow, 7 p.m., it's happening. The President, Joe Mahama, has indicated that he will be at the stadium tomorrow to cheer the Black Stars on. But ahead of that game, Joe Sports has gotten an exclusive with the Black Stars captain, Jordan Ayew, who has been assuring the Ghanaian public of the team's commitment to restore national pride, beginning with the qualifier against Chad and later against Madagascar on Tuesday. The Black Stars will be looking to climb up the table in Group I as they look to secure a spot in the tournament to be hosted in USA, Canada, and Mexico in 2026.
Playing for Ghana, there's huge pressure. If I say there's no pressure, I'm lying. There's huge pressure, massive pressure. But you know, we're professional footballers, so you need to stand up to the challenge. You need to be ready, and obviously the boys are ready. And you know, I personally believe that, you know, obviously you always have to blame someone, and that is the nature of the game. But we believe in the management team that we have. We believe in, you know, in the JFA and everything. So we buy to everything they want to do. And
Sports at 8:30 tonight. You can make a date for that exclusive. Well, just before I go, even Zimbabwean sports minister Kirsty Coventry has been elected president of the International Olympic Committee earlier today, becoming the first woman and African to claim that very job. She will be serving an 8-year mandate, which will run into 2033 there.
And thank you very much, Ms. Bao, for that. You want to join George Riafe later tonight on PM Express, banking sector developments and the 2025 budget. He's talking to Kwamina Sumenin. He's the president of the Ghana Association of Banks and the CEO of the Stanbic Bank of Ghana. You don't want to miss that. It's at 9 p.m. Now, tonight, the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency is dispatching a team to investigate the state of disrepair of the Tafel Government Hospital following Joy News expose. Imagine rush to the hospital in desperate need of care, only to be told no bed, no treatment. That's the grim reality at the Tafel Government Hospital, where a critical shortage of beds is forcing patients onto hard floors and cramped corridors. We'll hear from Hefra shortly, but first, here are excerpts of Nana Wachiyadom's report.
Corridors of the Tafel Government Hospital in the Old Tafel municipality are narrow and crowded, with patients, relatives and medical staff jostling for space. As you step into the hospital, the sounds of desperation fill the air. Patients struggling for space, some on makeshift beds, others forced to sit or stand, waiting for attention from the overworked medical staff.
It's really sad because when we come and the place is choked like that, we find it so difficult to work.
The hospital's congestion is not a new phenomenon, but it has worsened in recent years. Medical Superintendent Dr. Eric Kwamedetu bemoans the infrastructural deficit of the hospital.
Tafo Government Hospital is very old, but infrastructurally, if you ask me personally, I will not call it a hospital. We need to do something about it.
According to Dr. Kwamedetu, the congestion of the hospital forces them not to admit some patients.
Sometimes you need to turn some of the people away because you can't admit all of them.
We can now speak to Christabel Eram Nuhoho, who is the head of public relations at HEFRA, joins us on the line right now. Christabel, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. We understand you are dispatching an assessment team. When are they due at the hospital?
Hi, Evans.
Great to have you, Christabel.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Your question again.
When are the officials you are dispatching, when are they due at the hospital? Oh, goodness, we lost her there. We'll try and get that clarity for you. For those who live in Tafel, this is a very critical matter. And in Ashanti, if you're listening to us, I want to hear from you. 05511 And in a statement that has been issued a short while ago, HEFRA says they're very concerned about the development and they will do everything possible to ensure that this matter is dealt with as a matter of expedition. Christabel joins us on the line. Christabel, I wanted to establish when the team you are dispatching, when you're expecting them on the ground.
Evans, a team will dispatch to Tafo first thing tomorrow.
And what's your mandate? What are they looking for when they get there?
We want to see at first hand what we saw in your documentary. And then based on that, the team will advise what measures we need to take. We just want to ensure that at least every facility has a basic minimum standard that will be maintained in facility. And what we saw in the documentary does not meet the basic minimum or the basic minimum requirement, sorry. So we would want to go there, see everything for ourselves. Based on that, we'll advise them.
And what is HEFRA empowered to do if you confirm the horrific state of the hospital as we established?
HEFRA has a mandate to maintain or to ensure that every facility in Ghana, every health facility in Ghana maintains the basic minimum standards. So you should go to the hospital knowing that you are seen. So when we go to the facility, because Tafo is licensed by HEFRA to operate as a hospital, it means that they met certain requirements. So if today we get to know that those requirements or those standards have fallen, then it is our duty to ensure that those standards are brought back.
Thank you very much, Christabel. Christabel is head of public relations at HEFRA. A few of your messages as before we run out of here on Newsnight. Jesse Sakumono says that Joseph's attack on Professor Michael Quay is unwarranted. That's a view there on that explosive interview she granted us on the Joy News channel. Also, still on that subject, this is from Kutuka Courage in Anglongan. He says, we are asking Honorable Sarah Safo to speak up and clarify whether she was present during the e-levy proceedings in Parliament or if an imposter represented her. She answered that question and she says she indeed was the individual you saw in the face mask that day in Parliament. And Sami in Kumasi says, I like the boldness of Madam Adwoa Safo, but why did she keep quiet all this time? Since she is a lawyer, she can take legal action against the lady who impersonated her. Well, she said categorically that she was not impersonated, that she indeed was the individual in Parliament on the day that critical vote was taken. You want to catch that full interview on our many social media platforms. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's across the board. You do not want to miss it. Just go onto any of our social media platforms and watch it for yourself, considering that many of you have questions around whether she was indeed the individual in Parliament that vote was taken or there was an imposter there. She's answered that question and more, all on our social media platforms. That's it for Newsnight tonight.